What's up guys, Maik Wiedenbach here, giving tips, reaching into my message box. Hey Mike, what about high intensity training in terms of weightlifting, not cardio? Does it work? So the high intensity training was something that I think we all fell for at some point, like the Mentzer stuff, like, hey, 20 minutes twice a week. Well, that sounds great. I mean, why not, right? And the question is, does it actually work? So it depends whom you talk to. So for instance, in Germany, my beloved home country, there's a gym chain that I shall not name. They deal exclusively with beginners and sedentary people, and they do one set per body part twice a week, and people make progress, right? Because they come from zero, right? So they get stronger, not necessarily leaner, but they get better because they've never done anything. But the question is, then what? So the most known proponents or examples of that are Mike Mentzer, Dorian Yates, and So let's just go to the checklist. Mike Mentzer had a great physique. I mean, no questions about it. But he built it with volume training, and he didn't start HIIT training until like way later. Now, Mike Mentzer did have a point in the sense that what Arnold was doing with like the 60, 80 sets per day was too much for most people, and there needed to be more recovery. But his program also would not work for a normal individual, and I get to that later. Then there was Dorian Yates, 6-time Mr. Olympia, if I remember correctly. But Dorian actually trained a pyramid, and just the last set was to failure. So he would do 80, 85, 90, so on, so presented, and one set all out, right? So that's technically volume training. That's not high intensity per se. And then there's of course the infamous Colorado experiment where goes, he trains, and he gains like 40 pounds in 30 days of muscle, or something crazy like that. So it's like, wow, that sounds great. Well, let's go to the videotape. So first of all, was a freak. He had 18-inch arms at age 16, okay? His bodybuilding legs were through the roof. He had an accident where he almost lost his thumb, and he actually was ill with tetanus. So he lost a lot of muscle mass. So what he was gaining was old mass that he gained back. He also trained a lot more than the 30 minutes that were being advocated because he snuck out the facility. And he obviously had, chemical enhancements. So I guess this is a very long-winded way of saying that low volume will drop off in effectiveness very quickly for the simple reason that you and I and most people, we do not have the ability to activate as many muscle fibers as the pros do, right? So pro bodybuilders can activate up to twice as many fibers as you and I can per set, meaning they just get more out of their training. So we just have to work harder. And as I went through in the other video in terms of techniques, we have to make sure we don't use the joints, we use the proper muscle, we don't lock out, we use, partial reps, mechanical drops, and other sort of thing. Whereas somebody like as gifted as, let's say, Mike Mentzer was, can get away with like doing this and still making chest gains, So, and then there's the mental burnout, because frequency and intensity are mutually exclusive, right? You can only train intense or frequently, but not both. But frequency beats intensity in terms of muscle growth any given day. So the more often you can train, doesn't mean you should train like your dead grandmother, using 20% of your capacity, but doing something in a meaningful way where you keep increasing your workload or your volume or your weights in a manner that creates maximum tension in the muscle will get you bigger, Now, if every workout you're doing is do or die, you gotta get these 8 reps, that's gonna kill us in the nervous system, and that's gonna kill your gains in the process, okay? Because it's very difficult to recover from that sort of stress factor, because if you think about it, Olympic weightlifters or most top athletes, they don't train at 100% range all that often, maybe a week, a year, right? But if you do this all the time and every workout is always maxed out, your joints will go and you're gonna burn out. So that's why I don't believe you should be slouching in your workout. This all out, do or die hardcore stuff is not gonna work for regular people, okay? So I'm gonna upload a video with what intensity techniques are in the real world as opposed to how it pertains to weights and how to train with them. And until then, stay tuned, Mike out.